What's going on, everyone? Today we have the 2019 Nissan Frontier PRO-4X. I've read tons of comments on all the different pickup videos that I've done, people complaining how there's so much nonsense, tech, features, stuff that they just don't care about. Well, if you have simplicity in mind and you want a no-nonsense truck, this is what you want. I'm gonna give you a full look at the exterior, the interior, the cargo, and then we're gonna go for a test drive. Let's get started. In a world of increasing technology and features and MPG restrictions, Nissan has kept the Frontier simple yet capable. It's a body-on-frame, fully boxed ladder frame truck, and I'm really excited to show this to you guys because truly it can be a good value. There's 5 different trim grades, and we have the Pro-4X 4x4 model right here. So taking a quick look at the exterior, nothing has really changed here for Nissan in quite a while. We've got all halogen headlights and we have halogen fog lights down below. Those are reflector housing, so it'd be a little bit trickier for, you can't just swap in an LED and expect not to blind anybody, but you could of course upgrade LEDs or HIDs with some aftermarket options. And I would definitely do so because the halogen headlights nowadays are just not nearly as good as the newest LED models. But I really like this paint on the Frontier. One thing I would like to change is the front bumper is not actually a steel bumper, it's just your plastic. Something that could definitely be upgraded to kind of toughen the truck up a little bit. But like I said about this paint, I really like this paint coat. It's kind of a bluish green. It's pretty sharp. It's got a metallic flake to it as well. The wheels on the Frontier are gonna range from 15 to 18 inch. We have the 16-inch wheels that are machine finished. They have 265/75 series all-terrain tires on them. All 4 brakes are vented disc brakes as well. And those tires, of course, those Hankook Dana Pro tires are all-terrain. This is the off-road variant for the Frontier. It's definitely fairly capable. I'll show you some of the features a little bit later. There's no turn signals in our mirrors right here or fancy door handles, no smart key system, anything like that. Those mirrors do have, they are power heated thanks to our premium package right here. One thing that I was kind of surprised about was the length of the Frontier. So it's 205 inches, which is quite a bit shorter than the 211 or 212 inches from GM, Ford, and Toyota. So that's something that I was a little bit surprised about. I didn't realize that it was that much shorter than the rest of them. As we wrap around the back, the ground clearance with the 4x4 model here is 10.1 inches, and we have skid plates under the fuel tank, the oil pan, the transfer case, an electronic locking rear differential, and our off-road model here gets Bilstein off-road high-pressure shocks. The Frontier can come with a 5-foot or a 6-foot bed. We have the shorter 5-foot bed with the crew cab right here, and there's 44 inches between the wheel wells. I'll show you this little Utilitrack system here, but this is also a locking tailgate, which is a really nice feature. It's not a soft opening tailgate or automatic locking, you have to manually lock it, but still you can use it like that. And like I said, 44 inches between the wheel wells. And we have the Utilitrack channel setup. So we've got these rails on each side, and it comes with 4 different cargo tie downs that are movable and adjustable, of course, one on the back of the bed right there as well. A couple more on this side. And then you can hook those up with these rails on the bottom of the bed. So you can tie things down really easily back here. It's a very functional bed. And it comes with this factory spray and bed liner as well that seems to be pretty durable. The only cargo light back here is the one up on the cab right there. And there's no actual fixed tie down hooks. I'd like to see a couple of those back here as well, but still a pretty usable bed. And I'll talk about the payload and towing ratings here in a little bit. Another thing worth noting and worth mentioning is this roof rack. It comes with our premium package right here. And just take a look at how bulky these rails are right here. So obviously it's not as wide as some SUVs or as long as some will be on some SUVs, but you've got a pretty sturdy setup right here. You've got a couple crossbars and it's pretty tall away from the roof. So you should have no trouble getting whatever kind of setups and attachments you have up here. So just a nice feature, and it's kind of a cool look, giving it a little bit of a rugged look on top here. Hopping inside the Frontier kind of gives me some memories of just hopping inside some other trucks, because it just feels like an old school truck when you get in here. It's got a pretty decent ride height and you sit fairly upright in here, which is kind of going against the grain with modern vehicles where they're kind of sitting you down in the cabin. But getting in here for some people might be a little bit tricky. You've got a grab handle on the passenger side, nothing over here. For me, no problems, but some of you, just something to keep in mind that it has a pretty decent ride height. The base Frontier will give you 4-way manual seats, but we have the Pro-4X premium package. So we've got these 8-way power adjustable leather seats that are heated, and they're fairly comfortable. They don't really have any bolstering on the thighs or around your body. They're just seats, and they're soft enough. They're relatively comfortable for me. One complaint though is there's not adjustable lumbar support. The lumbar is actually pretty decent, it feels like, so it's good enough for me, but something you might want to consider. Another thing for getting comfortable is the steering wheel has a tilting function that is pretty large, but it doesn't telescope, so it won't move in or out. It's just fixed right there. All right, everyone, let's take a quick look at the interior. So you do have a padded armrest right here. You've got a relatively soft material up above that. I like to rest my elbow right here and have my arm on top of here. It just seems like a good height, but this is hard plastic. So I wish that they'd just soften this up a little bit. Not a huge complaint. Automatic down, but not up window. Got a nice larger grab handle over there. My big bottle does fit over here as well, and just a big storage bin down there. Right on the inside, you've got your mirror controls. You've got your hill descent control, which is nice when you're off-roading. And then you can turn your cargo lamp off or on right there. We have a leather wrapped steering wheel right here. It's got good sport grips up there. It's nothing, you know, supple or anything like that, but you got some stitching on the inside here. Easy to use controls, volume, voice controls. Of course, we have Bluetooth in here. You can seek and use your mode button right there. Your cruise control settings over here. No radar cruise control in this vehicle though. Take a look at this. This is our key fob. Lock, unlock, horn. Simple enough. No push button start in here. You start it up just like normal. We've got a pretty basic gauge cluster right here. Everything is mostly analog, but you can scroll through a little trip computer over here. You do have an actual, you know, MPG calculator and a distance monitor. You got your distance to empty as well, so enough information to keep it simple, but still necessary information. Now everything else in here is definitely reminiscent of an older vehicle. There's not really any nice materials in here whatsoever, like some of the modern trucks are adding some soft materials, things like that, higher quality plastics, all of that. But up here, it's a nice storage bin. I've been keeping my sunglasses or my wallet up there, but it slides around. It's just, there's no grip, so you could easily put some grip up there if you want to. It's nice to have a storage bin. And then our model comes with a 5.8-inch screen, which of course is smaller than pretty much anything nowadays, but you can get a 7-inch screen on the S and SV trim. The screen itself is actually touchscreen, but it's not the most responsive, of course. It's not like the new vehicles, but it's simple enough. You don't really hardly ever have to touch it. You can pretty much just go through your physical buttons over here. We still have navigation and map, but of course it looks really outdated. You kind of have a nice little texture on the outside of your volume knob and your tuning knob, so it's nice to still have some real knobs. This actually also has dual zone climate control. The base, of course, will give you just your manual fan and temperature controls, but you've got dual zone, easy to use controls right here. You can have an automatic, or you can control your fan speed on your own. It's up to you. And they have nice little rubber linings on the sides of them as well. 4-wheel drive controls down here. This is a shift on the fly. You've got your 2, 4 high, and then your 4 low over here. 2-tier heated seat buttons right there. Traction control. We actually have rear parking sonar back here, so you can have it off with it highlighted or not, which is nice to have in conjunction with the backup camera. And then we've got our rear locking differential right there. Just a nice off-road feature. It's definitely nice to have if you've got some slippery situations. It can really help you get out of some stuff. And it's a 4-wheel drive limited slip, so should have pretty decent traction with all 4 wheels. Right below all that is another storage bin. Again, it's the hard plastic, but it fits, you know, a decent amount of stuff. Just put a little grip down there and you'll be good to go. Our shifter is leather wrapped, and there's actually an overdrive button, interestingly enough. Let me shift into reverse. That gives us our backup camera, no dynamic lines or anything like that. Another thing about this screen right here, so we have Sirius XM, no Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. We do have Bluetooth, and then our model has the Rockford Fosgate 10 speaker system with the subwoofer. it's pretty darn loud. The sub is very powerful in here. It definitely makes this small cab rattle quite a bit. So I'll give you a little sound test. There's another little storage bin right over here. We've got an actual mechanical e-brake right there. Bottle holders are decent size. They come with these little rubber inserts that you can take out if you want. But my big bottle's been fitting okay without taking those grippers out as well. This center armrest is kind of a rubbery material, probably pretty tough and durable, not necessarily soft. Lifts up like that. You've got a couple dividers, coin holders, 12-volt power outlet. No lights in here, no USBs in here, and it's pretty deep though. That's one thing to give it. The USB port is right over here. There's just one USB in here and an auxiliary port, and then another 12-volt power outlet. One nice thing is we have a lock-in glove box in here as well, and an extra little storage space up above. So that is always handy and convenient as well. We have an automatic dimming rearview mirror, but we don't have garage controls on here. You can get those on the higher model. The visor is a sliding visor. There's no vanity light in here, but of course you have a mirror. Up above, we have a sunglass holder, which is pretty decent size, even though we still have a sunroof, which is nice. So visibility in here is not too bad. Of course, it's a truck. You don't have a whole lot to look around, not like an SUV. So very simple cabin, probably a pretty durable cabin, no soft materials. It's just a rugged interior to a pickup. Now, when you climb into the back seat of the Frontier, you've got a handle on each side. You've got an old blank handle and hooks up here, so it makes it a little bit easier for your passengers to get in. These seats do sit up fairly high. There's not really any thigh support, but I can sit behind myself at 5'9" and still have some knee space, still have a little bit of foot space. And only on the premium package, or at least for our model, the premium package is what gives us the center folding armrest. There's no cup holders in it, but there are some cup holders down by your feet, which work okay. There's just no USBs or 12-volt power outlets back here. However, headroom is pretty good. Sitting up tall, I still have a little bit of room above my head, so that is nice. And then, if I sit in the middle, there's not a huge hump in the middle. I can at least sit up tall without my head touching, so that's good. It's real close to this light up here, but there's not a huge hump, so you could have a child sit in the middle and probably be okay. One nice thing about the Frontier, and this is something I complained about in the Ranger doesn't have 60/40 folding seat, at least the one that I was in, but this has a 60/40 split fold. You can lift it up. We've got a storage bin down here. There's a first aid kit down here, so there's a little bit of storage down here, and then your jack kit is stored behind here as well. There's actually a couple different powertrain options for the 2019 Frontier. There's a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder and the VQ 4-liter V6 from Nissan. This is probably actually my favorite part of the Nissan Frontier. It's multi-point injected 4-liter V6, and it has been around for quite a while, and it gets 261 horsepower, 281 pound-feet of torque, and that's paired with a 5-speed automatic transmission. However, if you want, you can get a 6-speed manual here as well, something the Ford Ranger also does not give you. The miles per gallon here on this Pro-4X 4-wheel drive model will be 15 in the city, 21 on the highway, 17 combined. But if you go with a V6 2-wheel drive, you'll get 16 in the city, 23 combined. And then payload as equipped is 1,020 pounds. The max is around 1,500 pounds. We're losing on some of that because of our Bilstein shocks, our off-road package here. The towing will be 6,290 pounds as equipped, with max towing around 6,500 pounds. Those numbers are lower than pretty much everything except the Honda Ridgeline, something that Nissan definitely will probably be improving upon with the next generation. All right, thank you everyone for sticking around for the test drive here. So my first impression of the Frontier is that you sit upright, you feel like you're in a truck. I mean, some of the vehicles nowadays that used to feel like trucks, you just sit a little lower, you just kind of get enveloped in the cabin and it feels more car-like. but there's no mistaking that you're riding in a truck with this. Let's get a little acceleration run right here out of this VQ V6. It's a very solid engine right there. You've got some solid acceleration. Got a Corvette behind us. Let's see if they catch up. And now that I'm out on the road with a little bit of curves, the steering in this thing that I noticed right away is that it's a lug to move this steering wheel compared to modern day vehicles where it's like you can turn it with a finger. And I actually kind of like that. Low speed maneuvering, maybe if you're backing in a trailer or something, or in a parking lot, it's a little bit laborious to get this steering wheel to kind of go where you want it to go, but it just feels normal, it feels natural, and there's no nonsense about it. To my surprise, the ride comfort in here is actually better than I thought. I mean, you've gotta know that it's a body-on-frame, it's a ladder frame, it's an off-road suspension here, so there's a lot that will make this feel like a truck, and it certainly has that stiffness factor about it to where you kind of feel everything. You've got some jitters, but it's nothing outrageous or nothing that's really uncomfortable that deters me from even wanting to drive it. It's just fine with me. A little bit more on acceleration, handling. Now with the naturally aspirated V6 right here, it's actually kind of torquey, especially right when you're taking off. You get a little bit of a jump out of this thing, which is kind of nice. I appreciate that. Otherwise, you do have to rev it out in order to get some power to come out of it. But it's pretty quick to respond. The 5-speed transmission is pretty smooth. I've had no troubles with that. You can get a 6-speed manual if you want. Obviously, Nissan could definitely upgrade it, make it more efficient, give it some more, some more gears, and probably upgrade some power with a smaller engine is my guess, but I respect the naturally aspirated 4-liter V6. I'm just getting on some gravel, and I want to apologize in advance. I can't go off-road anywhere. There's just everywhere around here is trespassing. It's all private land. There's developments that have been blocked off, things like that. There's just nowhere that I can go without getting arrested. But out on some gravel right here, a little bit of loose rock, it feels at home right here. We've got 16-inch wheels. We've got quite a bit of rubber around those wheels, so that is nice. We've got the off-road suspension. Even though there's a lot of hard touches in here, plastics, all that stuff like old trucks had, I haven't had a single rattle, which is fantastic. And that's something that I kind of worry about with some vehicles is the cheap plastics, things that rub, pieces that can rattle, but I haven't had any of that in here. In fact, for the noise, vibration, and harshness, it's not like super smooth and isolated from the road. Not at all. But my decibel ratings were actually better than I thought. My biggest complaint is that when you get up to highway speeds, you get quite a bit of wind noise coming from the window seals right here. They could laminate this glass, get better seals, but overall, the ride really isn't that bad. The noise isn't that bad. I was expecting it to be louder and rougher. Now, off-road capability, if you do want to get off-road in this thing, it's more than capable. I mean, you've got the off-road suspension, you've got 10.1 inches of ground clearance, hill descent control, a locking rear differential, 4-wheel limited slip. One thing I'd like to see in the next generation is an automatic 4-wheel drive. That's always nice, especially with some off and on dry and slippery conditions. We just don't have that right here. Let me give you a little acceleration run. Of course, just 2-wheel drive. It doesn't shortchange those shifts. It'll get every little rev out right there. And like I said, it's got respectable power. Obviously, the setup we have right here isn't the optimum for towing and payload. But in conclusion, if you're going to get a Frontier, I was looking at my local dealers, and they've got vehicles priced like this, around $37,000, $38,000, down to $31,000, $32,000. And that's before negotiations. So with everything that you get on here, the capability that you still have, the pretty much reliable VQ V6 engine, no nonsense, none of that stuff. If you want a basic, simple truck, this is great. There's enough room in the back to be comfortable for short distances. The Frontier is something that is going to be overlooked, but you can get it at the right price. And that's where the value one more thing with the brakes. When you get on the brakes are a little bit, they're not necessarily soft. They're just not gonna grab right away. There's a little bit of more of a natural feel, kind of as you press into the pedal. You've got vented brakes on all 4 wheels, which is nice. I have reviewed the 2019 Ranger that was priced at $35,000, and this has more stuff than that did. That was the base model with some extra stuff on it. I'd love to know what you guys think of that compared to this. If you watched that video, I've reviewed the 2019 Tacoma as well, and the 2018 Tacoma, and the 2018 Honda Ridgeline, and the 2018 Chevy Colorado. So I've been in all the recent trucks. Obviously this feels the most outdated. It doesn't have as much. Please be sure to watch those videos, all those different mid-size trucks, and let me know what you guys think. I appreciate you so much for sticking around. Please be sure to subscribe down below for weekly videos, and I'll catch you guys next time.